have it now. Just so you know. Since the car was smashed over there, Deneen called the state police. So the state, Lancaster City Police no longer have the jurisdiction. It's the state police running it. So I don't know if that's good or bad, but I'm just saying that.
It's just going to go up there.
I was just informed that the state police now has this. Because of those cars being broken over there on Laurel, the county does not have it. The state troopers do. So you guys better beware, okay? We are here for a cause. We're going to continue this cause, but you guys do have to be aware of what's going on around us and what's going on, okay?
Hey, the police smashed your car.
Also, I got something that I want to say too.
Go ahead, Mom.
That we was out here fighting. Excuse me. Hello. Hello, y'all. Come on. There was a set of demands in the beginning that we was out here working hard for. And I felt some type of way because those demands have been violated. The excessive force has been violated. Those demands that we fought hard for, the excessive force, along with the body cam, the excessive force portion has been violated. We feel some type of way. Oh yes, it is that. It is that.
Not just that, we didn't get none of that shit.
We ain't get shit.
Man, we ain't get shit.
But the tangible thing that they could have gave us has been violated.
Ain't nothing changed.
We ain't get shit.
Now they killing us. That's all it is now.
That was the most important.
This is target practice.
Your social work.
That's how they looking at it.
But at the end of the night, it happened. It happened.
I was there. I was there. I seen it. I seen his body on the curb. I seen his body on the curb.
That's crazy.
No corner.
That's crazy.
No corner.
That's crazy. That's not right. He's traumatized for life.
You think?
Where's the line?
Where's the line? These motherfuckers shot.
You're right.
A child in front of his mother 4 times. The mom?
No, where's the line? I just want to make sure, you know?
Make up your fucking choice.
That's where I go. I seen it.
WGAL, dude. Is that the video? He got a knife in his hand. Shoot. He's straight up like running after the cop.
How quickly we forget. My name is Lady Warrior, and I do these videos to get my thoughts out. I'm not done watching the hearing today or the Secret Service failure of Trump's attempted assassination. I ask God to protect everybody, not allow anything to go through my screen to you that's listening, and not anything to come here. I pray this, that God wraps his arms around each and every one of you to show you his love. Selah, glory, hallelujah, all glory to God. In the name of Yahshua Jesus, amen. Yes, how quickly we forget. I'm not done watching the videos. I'm not done watching today's hearing. I had to shut it off because I had a therapy appointment, of course. Yeah, there's that too. I'm not unlike many other Americans who have to have mental health services to make sense of things. And first and foremost, things in my own personal life, but then, as you can tell, things that happen in the world. And in my little corner of the world, in my country, unfortunately, there was a shooting. I was very put out by people saying it was a miracle, and I was very put out by other people stating, darn, you didn't get them. And that video I will play at the end of this that I have created. There is a term out there that we always want to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Now, I still have a lot to go through for today's hearing, so I might be jumping the gun. There might have been something said about this. Our failures started before this campaign began that day, before the event began, before the shooter got on the roof, before the shooter looked up how to do this. There is a lack of communication that I see as an American layperson who knows nothing about the jobs of the men and women who do their jobs in this particular case, especially law enforcement all the way up. I don't know what the chain of command is as the average American citizen. I do know what I see with certain things, though. Prepare for the worst and hope for the better. Pennsylvania is an open carry state, as they keep on saying. And with open carry states that you do not have to have a permit on you for an AR-15. It's true, that's a little bit much to be able to have the average citizen, 20-year-old person, if you will, that doesn't know how to shoot a gun, be able to carry a gun in public where my child or any children are, or any citizen. We have January 6th. I'm not saying who's responsible for those riots, okay? I'm neither right nor left. I lean right, if you want to know my political views. I don't lean all the way to the right. I don't believe in taking anybody out either. I don't believe in harming anybody no matter what. Bipartisan, is defined on Google to me as, regardless of your political party, you're looking into this. This means keep the fighting out of it. I've seen a few attacks on Republicans and Democrats in this thing so far, but as the average layperson who doesn't know the director of the Secret Service was not stepping down yesterday, so maybe some of that was brought on to show or prove a point to the Secret Service person that was on the stand. I don't know. So I know there's a gray area that I'm not seeing with some of it. And forgive me if I say things wrong because of that. On the other hand, I do want to thank the lawmakers that have kept the word miracle out of it. And they say for some reason he turned his head. Thank you. I do want to say thank you for recognizing that there was a man shot to death that was protecting his family from gunfire. I want to say thank you for praying and having thoughts for the wounded, physically wounded. And one of the lawmakers or politicians that were up on stage also mentioned something that I wasn't seeing yesterday and today until this gentleman, so lovingly brought up. And I say it's an act of love because it's true and it needed to be brought out. There wasn't 4 victims at this event. Yesterday, somebody said 20,000 to 30,000 people went to this event. Then today I heard the number 13,000. And yes, men, women, and children. Their mental health was compromised with this. Their feeling of safety was compromised. As a parent, I have a job. One of my jobs as a parent is to make my child feel safe in their own home. You have a job to keep Americans feeling safe in their own home, which is called America. I haven't watched the rest of today, but I do have a question. Since it's not, I'm not downplaying the person who lost their husband and father. I'm not downplaying the people that were almost killed, the gravely wounded. Not downplaying that, but like I said, the mental health and the spiritual health of all those attendees were put at risk. And I have done videos to try to help my friend find her loved one that came out missing in the 70s. And they try to tie, or she ties, okay, I don't know what the truth is, that loved one to at least 3 to 4 other missing young girls that came up in Connecticut in the 70s. This particular woman, not only does she represent the side that was a victim, but she also represents the side that is accused of being the one who victimized. Her family has gone through hell and back, emotionally, and arguing, the brokenness of the family with that. So I want to also suggest that even though we don't want to glorify the shooter and him, that we do keep the mother and the father and the family and the friends of the shooter in our thoughts and prayers as well. They are not responsible for the one act of violence this child did. And to me, he's a child. He's a man, 20 years old man. But I'm an older lady. I consider him a child still. Your brain doesn't stop developing until you're like 21, your frontal lobe. And it says in those born in the male category of gender, born in gender, that the frontal lobe can take up to the age of 27 to form. So that's why I consider this gentleman still a child. He still was in the process of going through growing up. They are not responsible for this person doing this. And this was such a grave act and such a heinous act against not only Trump but all Americans, that if I was the mother and father of that child, which I would hope, knock on wood, my child wouldn't do, but stranger things have happened. I'd want love and support too. So I don't forget that that family and those friends are trying to wrap their heads around this too and are hurting. If I'm an American in a different state, hurting and trying to wrap my head around it, I could not imagine being in the family of a person that does this to wrap my head around it. So there were more victims. Not putting them all in the same category, but there are more victims than just what is being spoken of. My personal views have changed over the years with gun violence, with guns. People deserve to be able to protect themselves in America. We've always had freedoms like that. However, I still, unless one is going hunting, do not see the reason an average 20-year-old should be allowed to own an AR-15 or any type of assault weapon that the government issues to our military. Other than the fact right now it's gotten so bad that they need it in case somebody comes on them with an AR-15. Again, the point is, when you try to take guns out of law-abiding citizens' hands, you are not taking the guns out of the people, all the people who are creating the violence, because a lot of them are getting guns that are not lawfully gotten. And in this case, it was not a lawfully gotten gun. It was a permission gun. I heard two stories. I heard one, the father let the kid take the gun to go to the gun range, and somebody on this panel said that the gun wasn't properly secured, so he got the gun. I tend to think the latter. I think the father thought he was just going to go to the gun range and shoot. I do not feel, in my heart of hearts, this was a gunman that was a gun enthusiast. I think he had a plan in mind, and that's why he was at that shooting range. With this said, I wasn't in that family when the gun was gotten. I don't know the ins and outs of what happened, and it's not my business. What's my business to know is, how are you going to keep me safe, government, my parent country? We had direct threat. Our threat levels were heightened due to overseas threats. A. Trump was the former president and he's running for president. You can't get out of that. Yes, he's been deemed guilty in a criminal case. Has he been sentenced yet? I didn't even look. But that being brought up in something like this is neither here nor there. Unless you make it so that a criminal cannot run for president in the United States, then you can't. It's not right to sit there and take away their right to protection at things like this. At rallies. It's not. From what I understand, in the United States today, a convicted criminal can run for president and win the presidency and run it through out of his jail cell. And yet, when a convicted criminal comes out of jail, they are not allowed to have a gun. But they're allowed to run the United States as our commander-in-chief. That's what I looked at. That's what I saw on the internet. I might be wrong. Let me know if I am. As long as you have a candidate that can run for office, whether they're a criminal or not, you need to offer them protection, because you're not just protecting them. You are protecting everybody that goes to see them at that rally. You were protecting 13,000 people, if I was to believe the number that I got today. Yes, you're protecting the life of the first and foremost the president, as far as Secret Service goes, but you're also putting people in place to protect every attendee in that rally. The civilian should never have been shot. I'm not going to go into the ins and outs of the roof or crooks or anything. Other to say that, you know, at the end I'll let you in on a little secret. But as far as the heightened risk that we had for Donald Trump at this at this time, the parameters, shocking to know, because I always look at you all to do your job. It's not my job to protect me, right? Now, it would just make sense, complete sense, to have somebody on the buildings of every single roof that has the range of an AR-15. You're trained in guns. You're trained in that. It's not my job to know all this stuff. I don't know all the stuff you know about ballistics. Okay, and I'm not going to pretend to know. I depend on you as a United States citizen to protect me. And if you're not sitting there doing something that's common sense, it's not the guns. One of the lawmakers said, guns have killed so many people, whatever. Guns didn't kill those people. People killed those people. It's not the guns. The guns are a tool. The other question is, what I just saw you expect, and this is going to trickle down to whoever was in charge. I always thought it makes more sense if you would have a chart of where everybody is and what their jobs are. If you're heading the protection of the president in this rally, then you're going to tell everybody what their job is, and you're going to all the heads should go in and sit down and see that map of what the Secret Service has planned out, right? and should get a copy of that. My question is, with the threat so high and things like January 6th happening and these riots happening, I'm not gonna like oust Democrat, Republican, whatever. It doesn't it doesn't matter who's doing it. You plan for the worst and hope for the best. Planning for the worst in Pennsylvania, since those riots happened in Pennsylvania. Should have been the roads being blocked off, making sure you had enough local police manning that area in case you had people coming in protesting the rally too. At night, along with those protests, what do we see? They turn to riots. 9 times out of 10, it probably would not have happened that way, but that's planning for the worst and hoping for the best. Not putting 2 officers on the outside of the perimeters to do looking, to do whatever. That's what I got out of this. I mean, if I'm wrong, please, I'm asking for clarification if that's what it was, because if that's what it was, where those 2 officers were detailed with this type of thing, where they were the ones like cutting off traffic and making sure a wider perimeter was set so that protesters couldn't really get in the rally too, because our experience as the United States, you know, with in the near past has been after the protests came the riots, you know, came the violence. And yet, and we know this as right and left know this full well, because they're blaming each other for it, right? So at the same time, you know, I'm not blaming anybody for it, and I'm saying I don't believe 2 officers in a perimeter to do something, to man something, like make sure something like that doesn't occur at events, is proper either. We had more police officers at our fireworks show in our little town than 2 officers at a convention for Trump. How does that happen? And we're not an open carry state, so we're not a target. I found that most of these riots happened in open carry states where they could get away with carrying the AR-15s and all that. Do we have gun violence? Of course we do. Everybody does. We're all seeing it. The children who can't speak for themselves are going to grow up traumatized by that one thing. Ask me about trauma from childhood. I try to wrap my head around a lot of things today, and I'm 55. I do not like knowing that all of our children in the United States at one point or another have been victims of trauma. And the person you can speak to with this is MC Hammer, with his work with inner city youth that has post-traumatic stress disorder from violence that they've witnessed. And they didn't go to a rally for the President of the United States or former President of the United States hoping to become the new President of the United States. So, 2 police officers, and I'm not blaming the police. See, if you look at those videos I saw, whoever was in those riots and in those they made it worse for the Pennsylvania police to be able to do their job. They called for defunding of the police, and they really did a number on the psyche of the whole, if you will. So that is my biggest rant with this. Now, those riots, do I blame the right? No. Do I blame the left? No. I see a whole bunch of representation in that. I see we can't deny this, the American Communist Party is represented in that. The anti-fascists are represented. Antifa is represented in there. Black Lives Matter is represented in there. Democrats are represented in all those protests. Not all in the same people, but different peoples. But they're all there, coming together for what they believe in. This is why we can't defund the police if we want to exact a change. But we need to take them in account and hold them accountable because of what you all were talking about, what they all were talking about with FirstNet for the communications. To me, that little gaps, those couple little gaps that they had, those split, between communication between each agency, allows for more time for something bad to happen. You need direct communication where everybody can hear what's going on that radio or in the group. One command center that's getting everything right there. But it's not happening. I want to know about body cams and whether or not they can show any of them. Because the number of dollars that were given yesterday, and I don't remember the exact number, and I'm not going to look for it in my notes, was an astronomical amount that the American public is dishing out to them for things like this. So, in essence, it wasn't just a communication failure unless the communication wasn't early enough for them to prepare on a town and state level with their police officers and to secure the area the right way before the event even started. As the average person, that if I wanted to go see my favorite person in this town running for their political office, I'd want to see them protected better. And I'd want to be protected, and I want my daughter to be protected. It's a no-brainer. It's not hard. Manpower, I get. In a way, I get diversity higher. There's nothing wrong with it. You just need to put people in place that actually can do the job, which it doesn't sound like the people didn't do their job as far as protecting the president went. The biggest, there is a question about the people who were supposed to be on that roof and whether or not they went inside because there was air conditioning, it was too hot on the roof, whatever, they left the area of the window, which we don't even know if that's the window that they were guarding because the guy was unsure. Give it to him. He doesn't know everything. He did try to answer the questions, and he did to the best of his knowledge. But those two supposed men need to give an account of why they left their post even. No matter whether they were running after the guy or not, there's no time when you're protecting somebody to be a hero. If you got a job to do and you got a post to stay at, don't you have to stay at that post no matter what? The guy went out of radar and you left your post so you couldn't see what was going on that roof. you created a hole in the system to where that guy could get up on the roof. You don't leave your post. However, there was a lack of personnel that was looking for him. Why did they let him out of the sites to begin with? Why weren't there security cameras in ghost hunting has better surveillance cameras set up in the moment than the Secret Service did, apparently, because they lost sight of the target. And yet, they had all that money allocated to them way back when 9/11 happened. Ghost hunters. It boggles my brain. Ghost investigation has better video surveillance than our Secret Service, apparently. That's what you're telling the average person. If that's not the case, then please explain it. In the future, I want to see both parties represented equally with the right type of protection, not just for our president, but for all the persons that are attending that rally. And should anybody decide to come and protest the rally, sometimes we got to protect ourselves from ourselves. Now, this is the end of my video. That's the end of my rant to what I'm seeing right now. I got to go back and watch the rest of the videos. When I first looked at the shooter on an intuitive level, and you know, my girlfriend knows, I don't care who believes me. When I looked at him, average profile of a shooter, high school shooter. First thought that came to mind. Second thought was confusing because it was lower IQ, little bit of autism, but then I hear he was a genius in math and oh God, I hate it when I have to say it and I can't find the word. Math and the other thing he did. Anyway. However, upon discussing it with further, looking it up, discussing it further with my therapist, she said those on the autistic scale that are kind of autistic do very well and almost genius levels of math. And that thing that the shooter did. So the autism spectrum with the little bit of IQ that I was confused about makes sense too. Then I saw a video, and I think I did record it, so I'll play that at the end of this too for you. His friend did say he did have friends and they were in the weird group. You know, the weird group meaning that there's mental health issues. And he had mentioned in this interview that they actually did threaten their school with a shooting. And that he possibly was involved in that. It's hearsay, so they have to look into that. Why would that kid lie? He has nothing to gain from it. So there's that. But my thing is he's just the average basic person you would. It was suicide by cop. You shoot at the president, or in this case, elected official that run for president that's already been president, and do you expect to live? I don't know, because he did have the detonation device, and he did have a bike and a van. They said white van this time with the 2 explosives in it. But one of the lawmakers did say, put a gray area up for me, because I'm not good with the gray areas, where he could have possibly had been planning on using that as a diversion while he carried out his mission. So there's a gray area. It didn't have to be 2 shooters. It didn't have to be, oh my God, there's a domestic terrorist that's in cahoots with him. But 3 phones to me. I don't know what kid carries 3 phones unless he was dealing drugs. I worked in a nursing home for 15 years. They didn't give out extra phones to a person who laundry or KitchenAid. I never know about any other place. You know, these are all things that are confusing to me. My job is to be a mom to my daughter and keep my daughter safe. And how can I keep my daughter safe if I can't depend on lawmakers and people who know about guns to keep me safe, so that I can keep my daughter safe? How can that happen? We learn from the past. Plan for the worst and hope for the best. 9 times out of 10, if you go into the doctor with a headache, it's just going to be your atypical headache where you have sinusitis or something that's not going to kill you. Very rarely is it a brain tumor. Same thing here. We can't let our guard down. We can't be so much thinking about cutting corners so much with safety and security this way. Just can't be done on either side. Thank you for listening to my rant. At least, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So if I'm missing things, I'm missing things, but I had to get it out of my brain. Thank you for listening.
One shot right here, Mike. One shot right here.
Come on.